we are here to build about hip hop, right? Let's build about hip hop. Fat Joe was just on Mav Hoffa's channel at the barbershop, you know what I'm saying, where they get together and they build on hip hop right now. This is a home court advantage conversation. First off, you have to understand that because Mav Hoffa is an NY artist. Fat Joe is an NY artist. I believe that most of Mav Hoffa's cast is, these are all NY guys, and I love NY. I love NY guys, man. And the reason I love guys from NY, New York, you know what I'm saying, whether it be upstate or whether it be New York City, I got good friends all over New York, man. It's because they so passionate about the game, right? They are passionate about hip hop, a lot of them, and so you gotta respect that, right? You gotta respect the passion of it, and yeah, you gotta respect the passion of it. But so Fat Joe was up there building about hip hop, right? Did it start? Is it an American creation? Black? Is it American? Is it a Black American creation, or is it a creation by Black Americans and Black Caribbeans and even Puerto Ricans, right? Of course, Fat Joe, he leans more towards it was a creation of Black Americans and Puerto Ricans, right? Busta Rhymes also agrees with this, so does KRS-One and others. You know, we have no issue with that. So that ain't even what we want to deal with. I mean, we want to deal with that, but we want to break it down in a respectful manner, right? So this is how I see it. You have to understand that New York is like Miami. New York City is like Miami, right? In the sense that it's so many immigrants that flooded to New York City and Miami, right? In the 1900s, 1970s, because it was a law for a long time. The only immigrants that could come to America was from Western Europe, right? So you have the civil rights movement going on. You start having these civil right laws be passed that a lot of radical Republicans trying to take back now. But at one, Vivek Ramaswamy being one, even though he came here off the back of one of the laws, right? Because it was an immigration law that passed, that Dr. King and the civil rights movement got passed, that started allowing immigrants to come over to America that were not just from Western Europe, right? So that's a big dynamic, right? Because around the time of hip hop is so-called being born in the 70s, you have a lot of immigrants flooding into New York, flooding into Miami, right? When you see Scarface, you see Manolo, and you see Tony coming in off what they call the Cuban, the Cuban crime wave that Castro sent when Castro was getting rid of, some of his Cubans that he felt like didn't belong with his, they was not feeling his regime. He got rid of them and he threw some of the bad guys in there, what I'm saying, for America to come through, and it raised the crime in Miami, right, through with the cocaine era, which is Scarface, right, classic film. Now, that's also big because hip hop loves the film Scarface, right? So that's another point. But anyway, you look at Joey Crack and all, the mafioso era of hip hop plays big with the Scarface and the whole Italiano Cuban thing, what I'm saying, the mafia element. So anyway, so like I say, you have all these immigrants flooding into New York City, flooding into Miami, right? And when they get there, it's Black Americans already there, right? And these Black Americans, they don't really know much about them, right? So they had to get to know them, right? They had to, because they had different customs. You look at one of the greatest hip hop artists ever, Biggie Smalls, right? His mom was born in Jamaica, migrated to New York City. I just watched the Shine documentary of Shine from Belize. Mommy from Belize migrate to Brooklyn, right? Puerto Ricans migrating to New York. Cubans migrating to Miami, right? Haitians migrating to Miami, Jamaicans migrating to New York. But here's the thing. So when they get there to these places, they're they become part of what's already going on within these cities, right? So I want to give it to you from this element, right? Biggie Small's moms does not understand hip hop on no level, right? Biggie understood hip hop. I could guarantee you Fat Joe's father did not understand hip hop on no level. Not even to the point of always, not even, I'm talking about, when I say hip hop, I'm talking about even some of the soul samples that came from the jazz era, the blues era, right? Because this was hip hop also. Aha, where am I going? Right? So the question again is, did hip hop start in New York City? I would say yes and no, right? And a lot of guys at Mad Father's Barbershop would disagree with me, but I want to tell you why, right? Um, a lot of black immigrants and, you know, black descent immigrants, like, a lot of Puerto Ricans and Cubans, Dominicans, they all have African descent, right? But they're not necessarily black American, African American, however you want to call it. They're not part of us in that sense, right? So our history is different, and a lot of them don't understand our history. That's why when you see them have like their parades, you realize, oh, the Jamaicans have their own thing, right? You got black Americans that love Bob Marley, but the Jamaicans, that's their thing. Because most black Americans, they like Bob Marley, but they don't really understand reggaeton. They don't really understand the type of music that Bob Marley made, right? Most of us don't. It's not our thing. It's a Jamaicans thing. Uh, you know, reggaeton, I think that's what it's called. What the Latinos listen to, right? Some Black Americans do rock with that, but a lot don't, cause it's not our thing, right? They resonate with it cause it's theirs. Uh, you take Black Americans and put us in one of those parades that they have. I forget the name of it, and we're lost, right? Because it's not our culture, right? So, with many immigrants in New York City, and I would challenge Busta Rhymes respectfully, KRS-One, all of these uh, immig- guys that have immigrant backgrounds, who migrated to New York, migrated to places like that. They may not understand Black Americans' history because it's a lack of knowledge. My people lost for a lack of knowledge, right? So I want to help them with our knowledge, right? So what many of them don't understand is that Black Americans' history, they know it started on the plantation. That's where some of the slang talk came from, the broken English talk came from, right? Which goes into hip hop, right? Uh, Gospel, which goes into hip hop. The if you listening to Snoop Dogg, you listening to Nate Dogg, right? That's the gospel. That's gospel. That's hip hop. The jazz, guru, when you hear in a lot of production, over rappers rapping over samples, that's Parrish used to do it every now and then. That's hip hop. The jazz is hip hop. The blues is hip hop. The spoken word is hip hop, right? All these elements are hip hop. So hip hop existed even before it became a entity in New York. Breakdancing uh, was existing before hip hop got its name in New York. We got footage of it. Hip hop. So Black Americans represent hip hop. Uh, Shooting dice, gambling. That's hip hop. Spoken word. Like I say, you listen to some of that blues where they rhyming and talking shit about the breaks, about the relationships. That's hip hop, right? So hip hop, when it got to New York, because blacks, the Great Migration sent Black Americans are a rural people, a rural people. None of us are city people. We just think we are. We became that. But we are rural people that were pushed out of rural areas and forced into cities. You feel me? We were forced into cities because the rural areas in the South were so hyper violent with the racism and the Klan behavior. So we were forced into cities like Chicago. Forced. Why do you think Emmett Till went to go visit Mississippi? That's where his family was. Do you understand that? Why do you think Black Americans from New York go down south for the summertime to go see their family? Frank Lucas had roots in North Carolina. Tupac had roots in North Carolina. You get what I'm saying? These are people's roots. You know, if Biggie, like as far as like Kamala, Jamaican, they want to go touch roots, they have to go back to Jamaica. When we want to touch roots, we go down south. You know, most of LA have roots. Tookie Williams was from Mississippi or Louisiana, right? It's a lot of you look at Kanye West, Oklahoma, right? His mother was buried in Oklahoma. So a lot of big city Americans, they still have roots down south. Just like hip hop has roots down south. And Black immigrants, children of immigrants, Puerto Ricans like Fat Joe, may not understand that we didn't always start in New York City. So hip hop, everything that went into hip hop, when it finally became hip hop, has roots down south. The rapping over beats, that didn't start in New York City. That started down south. We can find black artists doing that in Florida with gold teeth in their mouth. 30 years, 40 years before hip hop became a thing where it wouldn't even become owned by, we don't even own it, but that's a whole nother thing. So hip hop is a way of life. I agree with KRS-One with that. But hip hop existed outside of New York. You got to understand this. Them gambling spots in Houston that George Foreman was coming up in, fighting at the pool halls, gambling outside. There was a lot of crime in Black American areas back then. 1920s, 1915 New Orleans was still dangerous. You need to look into this stuff. It was hip hop. You know what I'm saying? That's hip hop. The mafia learned how to dress from Black Americans who was tight, kept they suit game tight. Kept their suit game tight. That's hip hop. Now, again, the lack of knowledge and sometimes the lack of respect for Black American culture from Black immigrants that don't understand that this shit existed long before hip hop. Gang banging in LA existed before hip hop. Gang banging in Chicago existed before hip hop as far as the music genre, right? Poverty is hip hop. Being creative is hip hop. Broken English is hip hop. Jazz is hip hop. Soul music is hip hop. Gospel is hip hop. This is all one. Breakdancing is hip hop. Graffiti, which started in Philadelphia by a Black American, right? Is hip hop. So a lot of Black immigrants, or even Puerto Rican immigrants, Dominican immigrants, like the great Fat Joe, may not understand that we have a long, rich history here also. Some Africans may say they may not be connected to, they don't know which which part of the continent that they were from. Honestly, that's a whole nother story for another time. But to be real with you, it really don't matter at this point, right? Because Black Americans have always been known to take nothing and make something great out of it, right? Because poverty breeds creation, right? Black Americans like LeBron James, born into poverty, not knowing his father, mother, a teenage mother, produce the greatest basketball player ever, in some people's opinion, right? Breaks out of poverty in one year, in one lifetime. Now he's a billionaire playing basketball, and his sons is. See what I'm saying? That's what poverty breeds. On the plantation, we talked in code. It bred broken English. It bred uh, it bred style. You know, and all these things went into hip hop, the fashion, the way that your uncle used to talk when he shot dice, the braggadocio, you know what I mean? The bravado, the cockiness, the arrogance at the pool hall, you know? Before that made it to Black Harlem, that was going on in Black Georgia, Black Florida, Black Wall Street, Black Mississippi. It's the same people, just migrated. Just migrated. So as these laws get passed and we see more black immigrants coming in, more Puerto Ricans coming in, more Caribbeans coming in, they're coming into places where they're running into black Americans, but they don't necessarily know black Americans' history, just like black Americans don't know a lot of the Caribbean's history, right? So it's a history blockage. Like you have a language barrier, it's a history barrier, right? And you cannot respect what you don't understand. So many that speak on it, I don't believe KRS-One or any or Busta Rhymes or any of them is technically trying to be disrespectful, but they don't understand that they may not understand our history. We have a rich history long before hip hop became a genre for another group to capitalize off of and get rich and pay artists pennies, right? It was hip hop, So, um, yeah, it's just something that they have to learn to understand that. And I think Tariq Nasheed did a great job trying to highlight that. But I'm gonna be real. It was a lot of us that was saying that before Tariq Nasheed. So, but I do want to salute Tariq Nasheed for being one of the first to package it up to a DVD. You know what I mean? But no, this is not an unpopular take. A lot of Black Americans already know this, but it was TV. It's TV programs, right? Big media programs, and what they've done, they always put out documentaries, and documentaries was always rooted in New York, and New York is full of Black immigrants' children, right? But their parents weren't hip. Their parents don't know about the Gap Band. They more than likely they know about their version of the Gap Band, that was the Latino version, or that was the Jamaican version, or the Haitian version, right? You dropped the bomb on me, baby. That's Black Wall Street, right? They got a bomb dropped on them during the torso of Black Wall Street by the government. That's near and dear to Black Americans, right? So we have a rich history, the style, uh, the game banging. This all made it into hip hop, right? Um, Now I will say this before I slide. Um, I want to give much respect to uh so many great Jamaican you know immigrants, or children of immigrants of Jamaicans, who did such a great job holding this shit down though. Biggie Smalls, you know what I mean? Busta Rhymes, KRS-One, uh, Rome Streets, I believe. You know what I mean? Uh, Trinidadians like Nicki Minaj, um, Haitians. You know what I'm saying? They got great Haitians who Ace Hood did. I don't think Ace Hood. Pardon me on that. Pardon self on that. Um, you can even say Kodak Black. You know what I'm saying? You got your Haitian element down, but you see what I'm pointing at, right? Miami, New York. I also want. Let me stop right there too. I want to show love to the Latinos that held it down. You know, Big Pun, R.I.P. One of the greatest to do it. Did it the right way. Legendary. Um, we gotta show Fat Joe love. I understand he may not be perfect, you know what I'm saying? But we gotta show Fat Joe love. Him and Big L used to hold it down. If you a hip hop head, you know, who else? Immortal Technique, you know. It's a lot of them, man. And hip hop is everybody is for everybody, but we just want to. And as far as what I'm saying, right? We Black Americans, as far as the way I'm saying it, we're not trying to shit on nobody else's culture. We just don't want our culture shit on, and we don't want the history washed and changed. This is a Black American art form. It is. But I do want to say this: by not gatekeeping this culture, um, it's left room for stuff like this to happen, right? But since hip hop started, as far as like it got its legs in New York. A lot of people have taken that and ran with it. Now we'll give much props to New York because I do think with New York, because like I say, it's a child of other places in Black America that migrated to New York, but then it has its origins down south. But it did come to full completion. The cipher became complete in New York. Uh, when it first started, like everything it started off here, I think New York was doing it a great justice by doing it the right way that they was doing it. You know, I, I and keeping the lyric, keeping the poetry, what I'm saying, the way they was doing it. And LA held it down for a long time too, man. So but yeah, hip hop is a beautiful thing. Uh it's a great discussion because it's education for a lot of people. But yeah, man, I wanted to clear the air on my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. Um, and I have a lot of documented evidence to back it up. You know what I'm saying? We got all the elements that existed long before hip hop, and long before what they say hip hop started in New York. We got it existing and making movement down south first, but we got it fully coming complete in New York, right? So it's his New York cousin, but it got its roots down south. And I think, and that's just the reality of the situation. As far as the immigrant conversation, they came to America, and it's like, they came to America and they love the style, and they helped it grow. But um, it's not really their thing. Cause here's the thing too: the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, etc., that's in New York, uh, they lived in places like the Bronx with a lot of blacks, right? But when you from down south or the Midwest, you let's keep it a buck. A lot of Puerto Ricans don't necessarily act like that. They're not influenced by black culture, so they kind of do their own thing. I'm just keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? So if all Puerto Ricans acted like that outside of the Bronx, then that it'll make more sense. But to a lot of us down south and shit, the Puerto Ricans that we knew, even that wasn't always their thing, you know. So it's second to them, and their thing is more like the Latino music, the what's his name, Bad Bunny, you know what I'm saying, Daddy Yankee. That's more they lane, you know. But it ain't our lane, and I love it for them, and I just want them to love it for us, and some of them do, you know. But yeah, this a conversation as far as the FBA versus Pan African element, and all that stuff. I think it's a conversation that uh, needs to be had, but it's kind of like the way that it's being had is divisive, right? I want us to be able to have that conversation one day where we can take out the first let's realize what we having the conversation for, right? And then two, let's realize what we can get with the conversation, because it's got to be more than just insults. As intellects, you got to do more than just insult, right? Wesley Muhammad is one of my favorite teachers, and one thing about him is, he just like to deal with the information, right? Uh, no need for all the gimmicks and the making fun, going super low with the personal attacks. Let's keep it real. We all black people, and we all got our differences and everything, but you know what I'm saying, we gotta find a balance where we can have conversations, because we got realer things going on right now, right? We got a lot of things going on that we really need to address first, instead of really focusing on like who started hip hop and who did this. That's conversation that could happen, but right now, um, black kids is killing each other all across America. No matter, the Haitians is doing it, and the Black Americans is doing it, and so it's something that we got to try to work on and try to fix, man. And we just got rid of conversations going on. Domestic violence amongst black women is big. Black health is a huge issue. So I love having the conversations like this also, but I also too, I also want us to, you know, find a balance and have that conversation and put it behind us and move forward with trying to have real conversations. It's going into 2020.